Suki, it's great to have you today on our weekly business launch portal show. It's great to have Suki, and let Suki tell us how he got his very own successful business started. Suki, can you tell us about what
Thank
you
you very much.
do?
To be very clear and sincere, I'm actually, I suppose you could say, a healed entrepreneur. Somebody who's basically spent a lot of my time hereditary from my background of history of my family, who's been involved in kind of, we could say, industry, entrepreneurship, business from a very young age. So nothing sort of new to me. My history is near on 100 years worth of lineage. So we've got a lot of experience in helping people grow individually, as well as our staff, as well as our team players, as well as ourselves, both spiritually as well as practically, you know, seeing exactly where the keys are to actually growing your business and going forward. So my history has come back from very clearly within property and property ownership in theory, but then also very strongly within, you could say, the electronics industry. So I spent a lot of my years kind of profiling and creating a brand new wave of kind of what we call in-car electronics authority, some kind of lovely knowledge around that sort of context. So in-car electronics, what I mean by that is basically stuff along the lines of in various countries, I know this is an international platform, when you have mobile phones, hands-frees, etc., for your car, for your mobile phone, so this you're legally driving, installation of that kind of product, taking audio, sound, because we all know sound vibrates and resonates with us in every single way. Also, is an emotive, so it changes our emotion. So that was very interesting to me, being involved in psychology at a very young age, understanding how we could up people's resonance. So they're the sort of key drivers in that.
How did you actually get started?
Okay, thank you. What a beautiful question. This is very important. I believe you've got a very young audience who's listening to this kind of stuff, to this interview. So going back to that logic of how I was inspired in this context is my father and my mother, and they are very pragmatic and successful business people and entrepreneurs themselves. That type of knowledge of having a soundboard at a very young age and knowing that that's where I'm going to go into my business, so it's the self-belief element, drove me to start business very early. So my very first business that I took over was a family-run business, and it was an organized retail environment, retail outlet, which I then turned around and spent my time. It was housewares, electronics, car, sort of in-car electronics and stuff of that nature in a household environment. So a very humble business to start off with, but it was my father's very first business. The passion was there because it was our family heirloom. So it was historically very important to me. So the tender age of 18, in fact, even earlier than that, when I used to shadow my father on many different occasions, we used to spend a lot of time together, and wherever he went, I went kind of thing, because I'm the youngest of all my siblings. But at the age of 18, I decided to take the plunge. And the most important thing is I decided to take the plunge. So one of the first key steps for myself was to pay attention to what I wanted to actually do myself, instead of just paying what we call open doors and just listening to what everybody else has got to tell me that I've got to do, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. So I decided to formalize and firm up my own personal identity. So the business I took on at a very young age, at 18, by the age of 19, I was very, should I say, healthy and profitable turnover. So my life to me was, at those ages of tender age of under 20 years old, not even in the 20 arena, would be to, it was a bit more about what I wore, it was a bit more what I drove, it was a bit more external. And that's fair as well, that's allowed, that's okay to say, but you have to have these integrities within yourself to understand it. And then towards the age of about 19 or so, I started changing a little bit. I woke up on many, many weeks and months, and I never really felt engaged. I felt as though I'd turned large amounts of money over, but something within the business was boring me. I wasn't that interested, intrigued by the business. So these are key aspects of business. I mean, I know we're sharing this in a very open way. Um, you really have to be excited about your business. Something about it has to turn your dials up, switch you on, get you energized, make you want to get up in the morning. And I was kind of missing it because, to an extent, I inherited a small business that was not necessarily financially viable. It came from a lesser turnover, which I turned into a profitable business. But the key point was that I didn't feel the buzz. There was something missing
Hmm.
inside the business. So that very first business I then looked for, and I started listening for trends and listened to my own emotions. And I was very much musically connected. So I used to love vocals. I used to like singing. I used to like music as a whole. And I thought, how can I take a hardware business or a retail organization and connect it with music? So the smallest of things of introducing the sales of music, that means for the kids of today, you probably won't realize that there was audio tapes and cassettes, which Monique and I
I
are
still remember.
very much of the age group to remember. So we had cassettes and we had CDs, which was a new phenomenon in those days. You're talking 1990 sort of time, 1991. And what I decided to do was to interject my excitement of music into our own business. So the idea came up that, why don't I just, if I like buying these CDs, why don't I try selling the CDs? Maybe they're just different there. My father taught us at a very young age, my parents both said, if somebody can employ you over there, you can employ somebody too. So it's very simple. If somebody can make music and sell it to me on trade, well, I can buy and resell it to retail as well. So what I decided to do was very against my father's wish, because he said, "You're wasting your time. This is just not important. Get on with the focus of the business." I decided, no, I'm going to do this. So I took his authority. I got his blessings as well, and we introduced a little element of music into the business, which was CDs, and initially started off just being a single counter, but quickly flourished to become quite a large section of the shop. So the business already orientated around that. Now, why? Because what we think of, where we put our attention, that grows. So as I was focusing myself on that music, the musical element of the business was growing. Now, by no means did I disregard any of the rest of the business, but it vitalized me. It gave me some kind of urge to get involved in the business. So to be clear and concise about what I'm trying to say is always look for passion within your business. Always look for something that really inspires you as a person, from your heart and your brain, so they're connected together as one. Well, I quickly took that business with God's blessings, well over £1 million turnover in a very short period of time, purely because of interjection of interest. Now, that one interest carried on. It's like you could say like inertia. To get it moving, to start off with, you have to apply large amounts of force. And then it turned into natural inertia. So the business itself became very interesting, very exciting. Now, through this musical entity, we started connecting with restaurant owners. So in the same business, there was the musical entity. So we were selling CDs. And in most restaurants, as you understand, they usually play probably an instrumental track in the background. Well, that was very hard to come and find. So always find the niche within your interest. So find out, is there a client base for this? So research, marketing. Is it clear? Do some market research and clarify. Is there a solution available to a problem? Is there really a challenge out there? So I started just talking to some people, and then one or two of them just started talking to me. And I became aware, and they said, can you do me a favor? Can you find some instrumentals for me? And so literally, 1, 2, 3, and I started to realize a market for this. And then I realized that the instrumentals didn't used to sell much in my suppliers. That also meant the product was cheaper to buy. So not only did I have a market call for it, the product was cheaper to purchase. So to me, all I understand is that seems to be sort of like a mission made in heaven. So it's like so important to see that you must have margin in what you're doing. So I used to buy them, and I used to sell them just to businesses. And they started buying the CDs very regularly. Now, with connection with these CDs, I didn't realize that in my local Peterborough, UK city, where I'm born and bred in the UK as a British Sikh, I didn't realize that there was a near on 40 in a little small city, 40 Indian restaurants. Now, these restaurants used to slowly buy CDs from me, which led me into a brand new marketplace. So the key point here is have interest in your industry. It will open you doors.
I love that. And I really love how, and I feel the passion that Sukhi is talking about. And passion is what drives everything in the first place.
It does, yeah.
And you also said that passion is basically, the basis to also become curious, to be open to listen to your clients and so on. Now I'm very curious. You picked up these ideas, you did market research, you found there is not really a lot of, support in the market for the people that are open to buy.
Yes.
And you spoke about earlier about how important it also is to not just have the passion and the idea, but also to build a system around it and an organization to eventually turn the idea into a profitable business. Can you say how you, so early in your life, basically picked up that idea within a year turned it into a $1 million business and were so successful so quickly. What kind of system and organization did you put in place to make that happen?
Okay. That is such a core question, listeners. It's so core. How can you make your business into a leveraged business, into an automated leveraged business, structured, organized business? There's a kind of a simple step process. You need to identify, first of all, you need to be curiosity needs to be very high. You need to be curious about actually wanting to expand your business. So once that comes through, and I know that doesn't sound very practical, but the reality is just be interested, nice and simple. So be interested in some kind of a topic, then look for little ways of identifying current troubles or problems or challenges in that industry. So something that needs fixing, I suppose you could say. So for an example, if there's the restaurant example, so we're coming into the space of how would one grow that business, because I inherited a business and I grew that. Then to take it to the next level, after identifying that there's a restaurant business, I went into manufacturing of pots and pans for catering level, a brand spanking new business, completely brand new. Now that then led us to grow into a new niche market where we became the sole providers of most of the restaurants in the environment, which within itself formed to a near £1 million GPB industry. So that belief within myself of identifying the core market, always looking for something new to do, I suppose, to an extent, and actually putting some energy and thought process into the systems of it, which means, what is my product? What exactly does this person actually want? Is this problem a seasonal problem, or is it a consistent problem or a challenge? For example, in the pots and pans game, do they have the need for pots and pans all the time? And that's usually annually. They tend to change the pots and pans a lot less. So that told me that this could be a part-time business as opposed to being a full-time business. So it was perfect to bolt onto my existing business and idea. Looking at the fact that were they willing to pay for this service? Yeah, that's very important. I find so many of my young entrepreneurs that I'm helping, they follow their heart and their process, but they're not really looking for, can somebody actually pay me for doing this service? How important is that? I mean, I may feel really excited about bringing my message to the world, but if the message is not wanting to be heard, or I haven't got the articulation to deliver it properly, who's going to pay me for it? So if that's your intention, if it's not, make it your intention, because survival of any business is about payment, is about profitability and sustainability. So is anybody willing to pay for it? And what is the current market price if anybody is servicing that environment? Is that going to leave you with enough margin? What's your costs of delivering that same service to people? And if there is a clean-cut margin, what do you need to do? What processes do you need in place to physically be able to deliver those services? So in this current day, if I was to try and say that I'm attempting to get more young entrepreneurs into business, which I am. So in this context, is there a marketplace for young entrepreneurs? Absolutely. Is it a worthwhile industry? Is it a long sort of driven industry? And the answer is yes. Could I actually deliver something that will help them? And that is the answer is yes again. I usually look for kind of 3 yeses. Is there a market? Is there a payable market? Is there a message that I can deliver, or is there some kind of product moving to the marketplace? And then assessing that, you then trial it, test it. Don't necessarily jump into the big manufacturing costs or the big expenses of, I must have the brand first, I must have this first. Try not to paralyze yourself. Go for the product first. Get to the point of creating the first transaction, because the first transaction of actually paid transaction opens up the flow in your mind of belief that you can actually achieve it. So I'm not sure if that's helpful to yourself, but the very first transaction should be celebrated. You should be very proud of the fact that you've made the first sale and there's a margin there for the company. Don't think about having to buy the cheapest first. Always look to buy a product that can give you a return on your investment, so that you can just see if there's a marketplace for us. Right. Does that make sense? That's one of the key things to start off with. Start doing it.
You said beautifully as well, focus on how can you make the first transaction. And I know a lot of young entrepreneurs are basically really trying to create a perfect product first, and then actually, once they think it's perfect, they go out. And the risk is that they never go out. or when they do, they find out clients don't want it. But I'd like to touch on another aspect, Sukhi, because there's something you said earlier. You said that your dad and other people in your family were helping you as a mentor. And you said that Sukhi was lucky enough to have entrepreneurs around him that were guiding you along the way.
Definitely.
There's a lot of our listeners and people that watch this that are not as lucky. So often, and like myself, I was following a normal career in a big corporate for so long, and then I was stepping out and I had to relearn everything, basically how to think, how to act, how to plan, how to celebrate as an entrepreneur. And having a mentor is so key. How can people that don't have mentors in their family or in their direct environment, how can they find one?
This is so important. Mentorship, coaching, and peer group, and belonging. Does that make sense? Support. Actually having a thought and sharing it with somebody of like mind or above. Very important. How can they actually action that? Well, firstly, they should be in touch with organizations like yourself, Monique, who have created this beautiful platform to share with young entrepreneurs to inspire them. This is the way forward. This is how you engage. You'll find that probably people like myself, in a humble way, and other people who've seen some kind of success or in business and have a structure to share with people, that it's not that easy to get hold of them because of the time duration. I still run businesses today and I still train and teach as well. But these are the type of people you need to connect with, inspiring individuals, people who are what I call inspired in their mind. So networks that keep you connected with your industry, people who hold you to a higher order, people who will test you and may not always say something that just sounds great. They may push you a little bit. They may progress you, but in maybe in a way that doesn't feel so settled to start off with. Don't be frightened of that. Be open towards it and say, okay, what within me is it that's igniting? Because something inside me, in my model of the world, is what's igniting in my head for that agitation. So what is it within me that's stopping me, or that's making me resent this advice that's been given? Because somebody sharing advice is usually something that's going to save you many years of trials and tribulations. Now, in my case, the advice that was initially given by my father wasn't automatically received. So I must tell you, we're human beings. I had an element of myself in there as well, but in a humble way. So I would spend my time getting quite angry with why somebody told me how to do something, until one day the penny sort of just dropped. And then I realized that mentorship is the key.
It is.
It's actually the key. I used to sit there and listen and spend time afterwards and reassess and distill the information that's to come to me. And that's part of my success. Why I mentioned so many things so early is because I started becoming self-aware of myself and wanted to think around the topic. What was it in the sentence that caused me the challenge?
Right.
Am I going to save any time, money, effort? Can I short circuit to another step in the business? Bring it forward 5 years just by listening to somebody saying, don't go and keep knocking on doors because you're going to get tired. In some industries, by the way, do not discount that, because it is the way forward in that business industry. But in some industries, it's not. You don't just knock on doors saying, would you like a stereo? You don't do that, okay? But you can mail and you can invite people in. So be innovative, be imaginative, look for mentors who stretch you. Somebody who doesn't just sit there and agree with everything you're doing, but not necessarily with an aggressive tone. They have to be you have to be humble.
Yes.
You have to understand that a true mentor is somebody who just wants the best for you, not for themselves. They need to progress you as a person. And all they want to do is leave a legacy on this planet to be able to achieve their own mission and gain. So that's so core. And I'm sure you meet so many people. And this network is very selective of who they should bring it onto which is why I'm very humbly honored. But find a mentor who really means well, who understands the strategy, but also wants you to do better. And they don't just want to sit there listening to themselves all the time. Does that help a little there?
Oh, that helps tremendously. And I can speak from experience that first business that I started to build was not very successful, I have to say. But the second one I did, I had a mentor, and that made all the difference. So, and it's the same for you. Sukhi, I could continue talking to you forever, but I'd like to give you give our audience your personal 3 key success principles. They're all people that want to get started with their business, turning their idea into a profitable business. What are the key 3 success principles, your personal ones, that you would like to share with our audience?
So the first one is get interested. And the second one is take it seriously. Start putting time out. Don't think about it and just leave it there. Don't get too caught up into what we call analysis all the time, because practicality has a benefit, and the benefit is you can see a result very quickly. So actually go for that first interchange, go for that first exchange of sale. It's very important. It's a really quick step of understanding. Get interested, get curious, understand your marketplace as much as you possibly can, and see whether somebody even wants to buy what you want to bring to the market. And is there something that you can tweak that maybe you get a bit of your interest as well, and plus the market's open. And then secondly, ensure you are really taking it serious. Send your time, set time aside, get out of your busy schedule. I did not progress unless at the moment in the second, the millisecond that I decided that now's the time to take action. This is about getting yourself mobile, because when you start moving, other things get in the way. The universe, or as I put it, God starts putting things in your way to actually help you, to construct your success. So it's actually, as you connect with people, we meet, an interview comes in, and I feel humble. So this is how it progresses. I'm now speaking to people in this network, and some words may help you, but that's because I took action and you took action to listen to these series. And the third thing is be disciplined and committed. Now, that does not mean be blind of problems and errors. It does not mean be fearful of challenges and, oh my God, that's not committed, so I'm going to run. So you have to be very committed to your task and order, but be willing to morph, be willing to change, not throw it aside and don't complete it. Always remain integrous and complete what you have offered somebody. Make sure you get yourself very committed and secure in the idea that I'm going to do this. There'll be trials, there'll be tribulations, there'll be challenges, there'll be days when you don't make a sale. You have to remain robust. You have to open your heart to change. And then if you actually see, okay, I tried to sell it in red and that's why nobody's buying it. Well, if somebody starts for blue, let's trial that. And if blue takes off, then be quick. Don't hold on to dead stock. Move that stuff and get straight onto selling the blue product for now. So the first 3 things I'd say are those in particular. But if I may just expand the 3, and one of the hidden things, I've written many articles on this in the past as well, and it's actually the mentorship. It's actually the mentorship, getting coaching and mentorship, getting community. This is the way forward. If you do not get community when you try to share, or when you have those block moments or times when you're thinking that business is lonely, and in those situations, you need your friends, your peers. And one of the key things for me is, start to learn to speak your mind and share it as it is. People respect you more for it. So tell them this product would help you if it's true. So keep to an honesty.
Yes, and I think, Sukhi, you inspired quite a few people today on this interview. Thank you very much for being on.
It's a blessing.
How can people that would like to know more about what you do and how you do things and maybe would like to get in touch, how can they find you?
My name is very easily Googleable. It's Sukhi, Sukhi. And there may be other languages, so it's easier in English. And my surname is Wahiwala. That's Wahiwala. And all you need to do is put .com on the back of it. That leads you straight to myself. There is a sukhiwahiwala.com/mentor me URL. If you go through to that system and actually go to that particular web page, you can fill in your details, name, address. That particular email will come to me personally. It will not go through to any of my staff, it won't go through to any of my systems. So if you want to get hold of me directly, go to my website and go to Mentor Me, and then I can speak to yourself and see how we can even help. And this, by the way, is a global message.
Thank you for sharing that, and I'm sure quite a few of people in our audience are curious to find out more about what Sukhi is doing and how he's doing things. Are there any last words of encouragement for our audience in terms of really getting up, taking their idea and taking the first steps on making it reality, turn your dreams into a business.
Oh, yeah. And one of the key things is that, yes, you can. Start living it now. The answer to the question is we all have the same right of success as anybody else. I'm not anybody special. All it is that I've embraced my success. Go for it. Do take action. That's what I say to anybody. Get out there. If you've got the smallest of incubated ideas or seeds in your mind, find people who will listen to you. I will listen to you. Monique will listen to you. Find people who will physically assist you and strategize with you and encourage you to go forward. So a key thing is go and do it. Find the support and take action today.
Well, thank you, Sukhi, very much for being on with us today. And I look forward to have you all back next week when we invite another inspiring entrepreneur that gives you very hands-on tips on how you can turn your idea into a profitable business. And if you are in the process of starting out, we have a 3-month business launch power program where we bring people like Sukhi on that really guide you together with me through the whole process from finding your idea and turning your idea into a profitable business. So if you are there, join us. That is a life-changing program, and we are looking forward to have you back at our next business launch inspirational show.
Thank you.